I'm Mark Halley in Mr. Saltwater Tank, coming to you on behalf of saltwateraquarium.com. Once you start putting livestock in your tank, the first question you need to ask yourself is, are you willing to quarantine these animals or not? Quarantining involves keeping the fish in a separate tank to observe it for a period of time, and you're mainly observing it for fish diseases to keep them out of your main tank. During quarantine, that's also a great time to help the fish settle into its new home, i.e. getting it used to you and getting it used to the food that you feed without having to deal with the aggression from other fish. Having personally been through the experience of watching a fish disease get into my tank and wipe out nearly everything in it, I'm personally not willing to put a fish into my tanks unless it's been quarantined. And I do the quarantining myself. I also realize not everyone is willing to set up a quarantine system and quarantine their animals. I get it, it takes some time, and it is a contact process. You need to be watching the animals, and then if they get sick, reacting to them. Not everyone is up for that, and that's okay. If you're not willing to quarantine your animals though, I highly recommend you buy them from a source that does the quarantining for you. That may be a local fish store, or if you're an internet shopper, Live Aquarium's Diver's Den is all pre-quarantined and conditioned animals. Now, I personally recommend you still quarantine those animals, but if you're not willing to do that, at least put the best foot forward that you can for your tank and buy pre-conditioned, pre-quarantined animals. Before you buy your fish, grab yourself a drip kit. It's free with a purchase of $100 or more from us, or you can buy one if you'd rather. The drip kit makes acclimation easy for you and your fish. Alright, I've talked about quarantining in the drip kit. Now it's time to pick your fish. Here's a quick recap of what's going in each of the tanks in the series to help you narrow down your fish selection. The 5-gallon Fluval Evo is going to be an invertebrate tank only. A pair of fire shrimp, a brittle starfish, and some hermits and snails will go in that tank. The 10-gallon water box is getting a pair of nano bonded fish with an invertebrate. A flagtail pink bar goby pair with red banded pistol shrimp is going in there, along with a serpent starfish, snails, and hermits. The 16-gallon BioCube is getting a blue-green chromis and a pair of clowns. Finally, the Fluval Flex is getting a mimic saddle puffer or saddle valiente puffer depending on availability. A blue-green chromis, a pair of clowns, a Midas Plenty, and an Orchid Dottyback are also going in that tank. Alright, now you know what fish you want to put in your nano tank. Now you actually have to choose the fish. So here are my tips from buying fish from your local fish store. First, the two big fish in this tank, the Naso tang and the rabbitfish, are not appropriate for nano tanks, so please don't put them in your nano tanks. I'm simply using them as an example. So I'm going to my local fish store. I know that, let's say I want to buy this yellow spot rabbitfish. The first thing I'm going to do is take a look at that animal online. This is what a healthy animal looks like. Okay, have that in my head. Then I'm going to look him over. Does he look like he has similar colors that are in the picture? Okay, that's good. Yep, this guy checks out. Next thing I'm going to do is ask the local fish store to feed the fish. Now your local fish store might push back and say, well, we just fed him. Here's a hint. Fish will always eat. They say, we just fed? That's great. Ask them to feed the fish again. They should be willing to do that, and the fish should eat. If the fish is looking at the food but ignoring it, that's a red flag to me. Either that animal just came in and it's not familiar with the food, which is not good in my opinion, or it's not healthy and it has some reason that it doesn't want to eat. So I want to see a fish that looks healthy and one that is actually eating. And while I'm looking it over, I'm also going to check for signs of disease. Marine velvet and ick are the big things that I'm keeping an eye out, and they look like this on the fish. Ick is a parasitic disease that takes the form of white dots about the size of a pinhead on the fish. Marine velvet is also a parasitic disease, and a fish that has marine velvet looks like it's been doused in powdered sugar. The white dots of marine velvet are much smaller than ick. Finally, while I'm looking over the fish for several minutes, I want to make sure that it seems to be acting healthy. Is it swimming around the tank? Is it hiding? Now there's some give and take here. A lot of times in a local fish store, there's lots of people coming through there, and some fish, like fox faces, tend to be more of a shy of a fish, so they may be hiding just from nature. But in a couple minutes time, they should at least be willing to come out and take some kind of look at you. In the case of this rabbitfish, he's swimming all over, having a look at me, I'm looking at him. This is a healthy specimen. So if I wanted this guy from a local fish store, I'd say, yep, he looks great, he's eating, he's acting well, I don't see any signs of disease. Bag him up, let's take him home. You picked your fish, you've got it home, now it's time to acclimate it. I've got a detailed video walking you through the 2 acclimation methods. You can catch that video by clicking on the link right up there. We've also added the link to the description of this video. Please watch this video, as not acclimating or acclimating improperly can harm and possibly kill your fish. Besides highly recommending that you quarantine all the fish going into your tank, I also recommend you take it slow when adding new fish to your tank. If you add too many fish too fast, then your biological filter, that's the nitrifying bacteria, isn't big enough to process all the waste that the new fish are producing. You need to give it time for this filter to build up. Therefore, go slow. 1 to 2 fish every 2 to 3 weeks is fine. Put the fish in and then make sure that your nitrates stay in check. Also keep an eye on your phosphates as well. You don't want those nutrients to get out of whack, because in a smaller tank, especially like the ones in the Nano Tank series, it doesn't take much for those nutrients to get too high, which can then lead to algae outbreaks. So take a deep breath, quarantine, and go slow. Add 1 or 2 fish every 2 to 3 weeks. Sit back and enjoy your purchase. I'm Mark Callahan, Mr. Saltwater Tank, coming to you on behalf of saltwateraquarium.com. I'll catch you in the next episode.